This is going to be amazing. You got a lot of people on this call today.
I think the biggest miss that people make in
Thank
terms
you
of
so
selling
much,
it,
Bill.
And that's what a good marketing message, good
It's
branding
about
does.
how does somebody do something big in a very short period of time.
So the intention today, Bill, is what are your daily habits? And then we want to talk about how to know when to hire attorneys and how do you keep attorneys at your firm? Because I look at this as a time management decision and a delegation decision more than anything else. And we're talking about the hour by hour productivity habits today. So let's start with how do you manage your day?
I think, Bill, you know enough about me where I watch your stuff and you are definitely like a trailblazer because I actually learn from you about how to manage my day. I'm on a set schedule where basically each day is dedicated to different things. So I learned that from a program called Strategic Coach. So there are going to be certain days that I have meetings with my management team, and those are days that I'll be keeping meetings, preparing me to run my office, if that makes any sense. And those are usually on a Monday or a Wednesday. Now, we may switch things up, but because now we're bringing more people on the management team. So Mondays are like my meeting days, for example. Then I have days where I'm going out and I am trying to sign up business. Those are days, my networking days. And those are usually about 2 days a week where I'm out doing anything related to bringing in money for the firm. So even if it's not right away bringing in money, but basically it's days that are done doing that. Then I also take a free day, which is a day that I am like thinking about what's next for the business. Where am I going to go next? What am I going to do? Where I don't check into my office at all. That's not on a weekend usually. Typically, that's on a Friday. Then there's a day that I use for learning. So, Bill, if you have a webinar, sometimes I can't be on your webinars because it's not on a day. So I have to do a recording, but I get the recording and I use my reading those days to read books. I actually am cheating a little bit and I'm coaching other lawyers on that same day because I'm reading books also as well. And that gets me in a good mind frame to coach. Then each day I kind of do something that you do, but a lot less. So every day I wake up, I really, really have to focus on being grateful. So I write 3 things that I'm grateful for. This morning, one was getting up and looking at a great sunrise on the beach. 2 was getting ready for your show. And 3 was the fact that we hired a traction coach for our business and we're going to have our first big meeting tomorrow that I'm excited for. So I wrote those 3 things down. I also give myself positive affirmations because, like some of your listeners, it's hard always to be positive. And sometimes, so by being disciplined, by really focusing what makes you happy and what's really important, so this morning I can tell you one was my wife. If she's even watching, and I don't think she is, I think she's in a spin class, she'd be happy about that because I don't mention her enough. Another was getting a call from my children last night, and I was very, very grateful for that. And the third thing was that we had a great month, and I had to write these down, that we had a great month in January. You have to be specific, you have to be focused, you have to be disciplined. If I don't do these things, it's almost like a prayer habit where if you pray every day, you ask for guidance, or if you're writing these 3 things down, they keep you disciplined. And in my case, it's about 6 things. What 3 things are my positive affirmations and what the 3 things I'm grateful for? Sometimes they're the same.
My question for you is how do you budget for pioneering? Like, how do you budget for new things?
As a visionary of your company, that's how you've created the opportunity because you've given yourself the time to say, listen, I'm the visionary of my company. I don't need to be in the day-to-day operations at all. In fact, the hardest thing is letting yourself go of sales, marketing, and finance. Finance being the hardest part. You're the best person. You're actually asking me the question that you already know the answer to, but your audience is listening and they need another personality on here to kind of convey that message because sometimes a message comes to different people in different ways. And hopefully your listeners are listening. So I would just tell you, watch Bill, because the thing is that the only way that you could take advantage of opportunities is if you're the visionary in your company. You're truly the entrepreneur. You're not the person that's making the widgets. You're not the person that's practicing law. You're not the person that's managing, closing, selling, but you're the big idea guy or you're the big relationship guy or woman. You've got to have the space free so that your calendar can be eliminated at any moment in time. If you're managing people, if you're stuck in the day-to-day stuff, if you're stuck don't even have a person that can integrate, a person that can run your businesses and run your departments, then you're not going to make that opportunity. It's going to be very, very difficult.
So I want to do real rapid fire so we can give people some actual nuggets. So I want you to go into a mind place right now and literally just think of the exact systems and principles you follow. How do you hire attorneys and how do you retain attorneys?
You posited your show real quick where you talked about how does Umansky hire, retain, and they never let go. You know, it's funny, Bill, every lawyer that's come and gone, I have a relationship that continues beyond our practice. So they never go. And there's a reason why that happens. So the first thing is a very specific nugget, and it's the easiest nugget. You have to make less money initially and pay your attorneys more. You've got to meet them in the market and exceed the market. And for instance, ours are criminal lawyers, and it's really, really important that I meet the market or exceed the market. And in fact, this past year, even during COVID, I increased people's percentages. And I have my last lawyer that I'm about to do that with, where I'm making sure that we're exceeding the market. That's number one. Simple thing, right? But you know that a lot of lawyers out there, a lot of business owners, they want to hoard that money for themselves. They're not doing it. Second is you got to put your ego down. And this is a specific thing. Reading Ryan Holiday's book, Ego is Your Enemy. Your lawyers are better than you in a lot of different things. If they're not, you should never have hired them, because the reality is I was a very, very good lawyer, but you have to get lawyers that if you're proud of what you're doing, at least my model, not that you have to do this, but I had to find lawyers that were better. So I respect them and the work they do. Putting your ego down, respecting that the work they do, and finding quality people is really, really important. So when they talk to you, if you don't put your ego down, you can't listen. That goes to the third thing that I do is you got to appreciate and use active listening and put yourself in their shoes. If you're not empathetic, then find someone who can be, but you need to understand where your lawyers are coming from. COVID now, the lawyers are complaining. We have too many cases. We have too many cases. I tell them, listen, we'll get another lawyer. No, I won't make enough money. I won't make enough money. If I just sit there and go, you either want to make money or get the cases, I can't control COVID. I'm still not getting down to the nitty gritty thing, which these are professionals first. There are law firms in town and other places where they just focus on making money. These guys are lawyers first. They respect their product. That's why I hired them. They're good at what they do, great at what they do. What I'm hearing them to say is our quality will diminish if we don't figure it out. The fourth thing is that you've got to keep them accountable. And that's an area, by the way, where, quite frankly, Bill, I'm working on. I like to be liked. And sometimes when you have very experienced and great lawyers, you put down and don't hold them accountable. And what I mean by that is you got to have reviews. You've got to hold them to data, which means how long are these cases lasting? If we do personal injuries, so that's the same for all of your listeners that keep data and metrics. Sure, some of them have it better down than me. What's their average fee per case? What's the average fee quoted in criminal? What's their close rate on personal injury cases? Data, data, data. And you have to handle them with integrity. That's not a generalized statement. If you say something to your lawyer, you better be honest about it. And don't go beyond that lawyer to another lawyer you're frustrated and start having cross conversations. You've got to keep your conversation direct with the lawyer and your employees. When you hire them, this is a key. This is a system, and this is a system that we do. Ask all your employees, what do they like? What are their interests? And what do they love to do? And check in with them, by the way. Have a drink, go to lunch, talk to them, not just in a meeting. Understand and get to know them, and then deliver something that's not just based on money. So for instance, we've had a couple lawyers that were never, ever in Europe on their own. So we took money and we were able to get we used our points and we used some money and we ended up sending a lawyer to Istanbul. That changed that lawyer's perspective on so much shit. And we just sent another lawyer last year, pre-COVID, to Spain, and she went with her girlfriend, and that changed her perspective. You've got to find what they're interested in, and you got to reward them. And you know, we had another lawyer who had gotten pregnant. He was actually not a lawyer. He worked with me for 7 years, was going to law school, and he had just gotten pregnant and he needed a minivan. Well, my wife and I at the time had a minivan and it was worth maybe 15 grand. We paid about 35,000 for it new. My wife's like, we need to trade that in. I'm like, we're going to get more from this 15 grand. He's going to be a lifelong friend. So he worked for me for another 2 years as a lawyer. He gave me, Bill, 1 year's notice when he left. And he didn't steal any clients. And now he refers me personal injury cases. And if anything, God forbid, should go wrong with me or with my firm, I could have an office space with him. He's very successful, or he'll come in. If I had to get rid of a lawyer to do sex cases, he's like, Bill, what's your problem? Why are you stressed? You'll hire someone else. But between then, I'll handle your cases. You'll give me a certain percentage. It'll be less than what I make on a case, but I'll help you. Those 6 or 7 things are the way you systematically do it, to pay well, put your ego down, appreciate them, push them to be better by using data, handle them with integrity, and doing something special for them. You remember Gordon, fire fast, hire slow? When you have a lawyer leave, it's devastating, which is why we follow that prescription. I hate if I ever lose a lawyer, but it's going to happen. And you got to interview people. But that interview process has got to be, can't be rapid fire. And the way we do it is we do a series of 3 interviews. So they'll come in and they'll meet my firm administrator and myself, or they'll meet with me, and we'll do it in my office. Then we will meet them out socially at a bar, usually, or at a restaurant for lunch. And we have them drink. If they don't drink, get them excited, get them, talking, get them social, getting to understand what they're like outside of their environment. And the third thing we do is then we'll bring them back in for a more intensive after we follow them up. We're going to add a 4th component to that, which is, when we may make that as part of the 3rd interview, is have my management team interview them and have a combination of some of the lawyers now interview them, because they're joining a team. That process is really important. And then we personality test them. Sometimes even the fancy personality tests I've taken, I've actually gone my gut and go, I'm going to try it. But you know what? Those tests are pretty accurate. And, it may ride, but those issues will come to fore at some point. So that is an important thing. You bring them in for sequential interviews, and you make sure you actually take them out of their environment where they're comfortable and where they have more power to do that. And it's very important. You want to get them in a comfort zone so they're being real with you.